Get your counters ready because Sonnet 4.6 just dropped. It seems to be a really, really good model. According to artificial analysis, it's a huge bump in intelligence, getting right up there with Opus 4.6. It's also even better at convex, which is obviously something I care about. Historically, Sonnet 4.6 has been the cheaper in-between model between Haiku as the cheapest and Opus as the most expensive. With Opus getting slightly cheaper with 4.5, the role of Sonnet's gotten weird. It should still be cheaper, except for the fact that it's now using way more reasoning tokens during its runs, as we can see here on artificial analysis. Opus and only ended up being like 25% more expensive than Sonnet, even though the price per token is twice as much. And that's because Sonnet 4.6 used over 25% more tokens than Opus did for the same tasks. So can it be faster and cheaper? Yes, but the math washes out a bit in the end. I need to be real with y'all for a second though. I'm not here to talk about Sonnet 4.6. I haven't even used the model yet. I'm here to talk about something more important, Anthropic, and their weird ass behavior that's been causing problems for a ton of people trying to build on top of them. I've been trying to raise the alarm bell with Anthropic's weird behavior for months now, and I've even been flamed for it in the past, but I think people are finally starting to see just how horrible their behavior is, and I want to take the time to round up all the weird stuff they're doing, from banning real users to preventing businesses from even using their models to doing all this weird lockout stuff with Claude Code directly. There's a lot to go into here, so I'm sorry for clickbaiting you guys into a Sonnet 4.6 video. There are more important problems to talk about. We're going to do all of that right after a quick word from today's sponsor. I'm going to be real with you guys. AI's absolutely ruined hiring. Both as a candidate and as a company trying to hire, it is impossible right now. I feel so much sympathy for the founders who are trying to hire for the first time or people who just recently got into management and need to staff up a team. It's never been like this before. And I'll be real, it's probably never going to get better than where it is today. Now that it's so easy to generate a slop resume and spam it to hundreds of companies, the likelihood that you get good candidates in traditional pipes is basically zero. And that's why so many of the companies I work with are moving to G2I for all of their hiring. These guys know how to hire. They have a network of over 8,000 engineers, which they vetted and created before AI made it way easier to fake your skills. These are real engineers with real experience, ready to go for whatever projects you need. Be it a group of 5 super talented engineers for a short sprint, or a handful of senior developers to work at your company full-time, basically anywhere in the world, G2I's got you covered. There's a reason why the creators of WordPress and the creators of React both do hiring through G2I. It's kind of crazy. I don't know anything else these two companies have in common, if I'm being real with you. Speaking of React, these are the same guys who run React Miami. See y'all there, by the way. If you're looking for a good web dev conference, React Miami is really hard to beat, and there's a reason it's so good. It's because the people running it are awesome. They're also one of those companies that's promise just seems too good to be true. This crazy idea of being able to hire somebody in days, going from the first interview to first PR in literally under a week. It sounds impossible, and I'll be real, I didn't believe it either until a bunch of y'all told me that you worked with G2I and had an awesome experience. I've been amazed by how many founders I talk to that just love G2I for all of these reasons and more. They're basically a recruiting team that you don't have to hire yourself to find the people you do want to hire. It's kind of silly how many companies hire recruiters that know nothing about tech so they can hire people who might know something about tech. Skip all the crap and hire great people at soydev.link/G2I. To put it simply, Anthropic's playing really dirty with how they're doing stuff. Today's drama that inspired this video is one that actually might affect me in the near future. They made a change to the Claude Code policy around using OAuth tokens obtained through Claude Code subscriptions and other products, tools, or services, including the Agent SDK, not being permitted. What does this all mean? Well, we have to work backwards from the basics here. Both OpenAI and Anthropic offer a $200 a month plan. And these $200 a month plans don't give you $200 of usage. They give you upwards of $3,000+ of usage. It is a subsidized subscription. I've been able to do thousands of dollars of inference out of my plans on both Claude Code and in Codex for just that $200 number. And while this is awesome for developers and users of these subscriptions, this does hurt the other businesses that are in the same space. Businesses like Cursor, AMP, and Lovable all kind of get screwed by this because the inference that they are paying for in their service has to pay the API costs. If you take a look at the API pricing for Anthropic, the numbers are kind of scary. Opus 4.6 is $5 per million tokens in, and it is $25 per million tokens out. Sonnet is only $3 per million in and $15 per million out. These numbers might not sound that bad, but I've had runs that do multiple millions of tokens in just one set of prompts, which means just one set of prompts could cost more than $25 in output tokens, and then all of the input tokens being reread on every single tool call can make it even worse. Shellick was able to get pretty accurate numbers by reverse engineering the API and found the amount of money that you could do in terms of just inference tokens on these plans is as much as $2,708 on the Max 20X, the $200 a month plan. That's almost a 15x subsidization. You pay $200 and can get up to $2,700 of inference out of it. That's insane. Obviously, there's a lot of people who have these subs that are barely using them at all, but these numbers are nuts. I'm going to do something that's probably ill-advised here, but I'm speaking from experience. Here is the real dashboard for our usage in T3 Chat. In the last month, which is from February 1st to 18th, we have done 6 billion input tokens and almost 500 million output tokens. And this has cost us $23,000 for just the last 19 days. If we were paying the same rates that you're getting in Claude Code, this bill would be $2,000, not $22,000. It'd actually be closer to $1,000 to $1,500. So we have done 500 mil tokens out and 6 billion tokens in on T3 Chat for the last month. In comparison, my own Claude Code usage for the last 2-ish months on just this computer, and I've been between computers a lot, so this is a very incomplete picture. This computer alone in those 2 months has seen over 420 million tokens. A lot of this is cache read, to be fair, and the only output tokens that are actually coming from Opus apparently is only 124,000 or so. I don't believe that number at all. I think it's being calculated poorly. Regardless, the point I'm trying to make here is that I'm doing similar token usage between T3 Chat as a business and Claude Code as a user, and I'm still getting to similar levels of token usage, and I'm paying 100+ times more. It's actually absurd. Again, I'm okay with people getting these discounts. I'm not okay with them being priced so aggressively when I can't compete directly. If you were to pay us $200, I would have to give you $200 of inference at most, or we would lose money. They can give you $2,000+ of inference and eat it on one hand because they have the billions of dollars to do it, but also their costs are different, so they can do as they please. And it sucks. That said, I get it. They're a business. They want to make their product as good as possible. As much as it hurts my business that they subsidize the price here, I get it. That's why I've been trying to build products that take advantage of those subscriptions. Not so I can make a whole bunch of money when you use your sub somewhere else, but so you can have better interfaces for it. I don't think we should be stuck with a worse interface just because we want to use the discount that the company provides. And I really need to make sure you guys understand how big the gap is here. I accidentally was running Claude Code in API mode, and after 2 prompts, I was in the $50+ range of money spent. The amount of money you save on these plans is absurd. And the issue today is about using that subscription somewhere else. To be very, very clear, I don't think it would be reasonable to use one person's Claude Code sub to provide services to others. Like if I was to set up a box that ran my Claude Code subscription in it and set up a website where you could pay $5 to query my Claude Code account, obviously that's against terms of service. Duh. But if my users want to use the Claude Code sub for something on their end, that would be totally fine. At least it should be, in my opinion. But if you kept up with the drama with open code, you know that's not the case. Anthropic seems to be very against people using the Claude Code subs in other harnesses, as in other apps. So there's like 2 different ways we can think about this if we have the stack of tools. At the bottom here, we have Anthropic's servers. This is where the actual infra runs. Then we have the harness. This is like Claude Code. Then we have the developer who subbed. And at the end here, we have their users. So if I am building T3 Chat using Claude Code, I at this level am paying a subscription to cover costs down here. Anthropic's issue seems to be anything going on between this layer. And I think that is stupid. As long as I am the user, because I'm paying for the sub, and I'm the one using the Anthropic subscription, the thing in between shouldn't matter. But the way they see it is if you're paying them, everything between you and them should be owned by them. I find this to be unreasonable. The way they are framing this is as this. If instead I was a pass-through layer and I was paying the $200 a month at this layer and I was exposing the actual inference to users, not the output of the inference, the actual inference itself, where a user would pay me $20 a month. And through that, I would route their request to Claude Code, to Anthropic to get an answer with that discounted inference. Yeah, that obviously should be against the rules. This is somebody trying to take advantage of their subscription to get discounts on a service that they provide separately. Yeah, but that's not what's happening in most of these cases. There are developers who are subscribed, who are users who are paying for the thing, and they want to use the thing they're paying for, which is this, in a different way. The $200 is not a subscription that they're paying for Claude Code specifically. They're not paying to use Claude Code. They're paying for the inference that they are using within Claude Code. And that inference has to be in Claude Code because if you use it somewhere else, it's probably against terms of service. They claim this is because they want to make sure users are having the best experience and debugging things that are happening in OpenCode was too hard for them, which is why they hard-coded a blocker. If OpenCode is mentioned in a header anywhere when you make a request to Claude Code, it will immediately refuse that request. It's hilarious that they've literally written OpenCode in their code base as a term to auto-block. They are that upset about this. But they responded talking about a specific thing that they consider to be fine, the Agent SDK. The Agent SDK used to be called the Claude Code SDK. The point of the Agent SDK is to expose the functionality of Claude Code to people who want to build around it. So if I wanted to write my own tool that can find and fix the bug in this file, and I give it access to a read, edit, and bash tool, it can then go do the thing and log the outputs. This SDK is a thing that they seem to be pretty invested in, and they want us to use. Back in January when the OpenCode drama happened, Tarek clarified that they were tightening their safeguards against spoofing the Claude Code harness after accounts were banned for triggering abuse filters from third-party harnesses using those subscriptions. And he said specifically here, you can still use the Agent SDK, clearly indicating that the Agent SDK with a Claude sub is totally valid, which the documentation even said before. And here's where the clarification happened that everybody's upset with. Unless previously approved, Anthropic does not allow for third-party devs to offer Claude.ai login or rate limits for their products, including agents built on the Claude Agent SDK. Please use the API key authentication methods described in this document instead. This seems to directly contradict what Tarek said here. This was a bit over a month ago. They just literally told us it's okay to use the subscriptions as long as we're not using an alternative harness. We can build our own thing around the Agent SDK. So theoretically, what this tweet said is that if OpenCode wanted to add a second harness separate from the one they built themselves, the harness being the thing that lets the agent call tools, make changes to files, all of that, according to Anthropic, originally, if OpenCode was to just use the Agent SDK instead and add a whole special second path for Claude, then that would have been fine. He clearly said here, you can still use the Agent SDK, clearly implying with the Claude subs. That has already since changed. And that is the thing that inspired me to complain so much right now. Major Claude Code policy clear up from Anthropic. Using OAuth tokens obtained through Claude Free Pro or Max accounts in any other product tool or service, including the Agent SDK, is not permitted. Tarek has been trying to clear this up, but has not said anything that has helped clear it up. This was the docs cleanup we rolled out that's caused some confusion. Nothing is changing about how you can use the Agent SDK and Max subscriptions. We wanted to encourage local development and experimentation with the Agent SDK in Claude-P. If you're building a business on top of the Agent SDK, you should use an API key instead. We'll make sure that's clear in our docs. If my understanding of what he's trying to say here is correct, what he's saying is that if you use the Agent SDK to allow users to do things on their own machine, that's probably fine. But if you're trying to use it to let me set up a product that you can then use that is using my subscription, it is not okay. But they are not being very clear about this, and I have tried multiple times to ask directly. In fact, at the point of recording this video, the last thing Tarek replied to on Twitter was my question here, where I tagged him and Boris. Would love some clarification on this. Seems to contradict previous statements. If I wanted to build my own open source agentic coding GUI, can I use the Agent SDK and let users bring their Claude Code subs? I am trying really hard to get an answer to this question. It should be very easy. If I have an open source app that I publish, can my users use their subs on the app? It has been multiple hours, and thus far, the only answer we've gotten is more info here, where he links the tweet I just showed that does not clarify any of this. I am trying my hardest. I've had multiple friends reach out today asking me to try and get an answer out of them because so many of my friends in their own businesses are now in question. We don't know if this is allowed or not, which is just crazy. Thing I probably shouldn't be spoiling, we are exploring building and putting out our own open source alternative to the Codex app because we like this way of building a lot. We have our issues with the Codex app, and we would like something that's open source, flexible, performs great, and works with all of the different models. Our plan was to use the Codex app server, which, by the way, is blessed by them. As Alex from OpenAI said here, all of the Codex app ID extension and even Codex Cloud are built on top of our shared interface app server, and you can use it too. You can build on top of Codex and embed it directly in your apps with a ChatGPT OAuth. They have been very real about that. We wanted to build our own app for it. Haven't even branded it yet. It still is just Electron. We're figuring things out. We've been using it a ton. It's really fun. I'm loving building with it. Right now, we only support Codex. And one of the things we wanted to do before launch is adding support for Claude Code. To be clear, what I mean is that we would either embed the agent SDK ourselves, or we would just call Claude Code for you. I don't know if that's even allowed. Even though we plan to put this out as open source and not charge money, you bring your sub from Codex or Claude Code or even Open Code Zen, maybe, if we would decide to implement that instead. We just wanted to make an alternative UI for the existing things. So it still uses their harness, it still uses their subscriptions, their auth, their everything. This is just an alternative UI layer on top. And I don't know if this can be shipped or not. Anthropic won't answer my questions. A company that I have multiple friends at, that I'm NDA'd with, that will respond to my posts asking for more information, will not actually give me the answer to the question I'm asking. Someone else cited his tweet before, and I asked for clarification, what exactly do you mean by building a business? Because they said if you're building a business on top of the agent SDK, you should use an API key instead. What does building a business mean? This is such an easy thing. And it just, the gap in how interacting with Anthropic goes compared to OpenAI is just genuinely absurd. You guys claim that I'm paid off by OpenAI and that's why I like them so much. No, the reality is much more embarrassing. I like them because they're nice to me and they're nice to interact with. Here's a post from Ryan, who previously worked at AMP. I don't know if he's still there or not, but this is a really well-pointed post. I'm just going to say it because I'm frustrated. Anthropic is terrible at DevRel. I think we all saw what happened with OpenClaw, but I've also seen it personally. Don't worry, we'll do a rant about OpenClaw in just a second. I've DM'd and tagged a bunch of folks at Anthropic and have literally never received a single reply or DM. On the other hand, look at Codex. I switched over to Codex recently and started trying it out. I love it. So much so that I switched my entire dev workflow to the Codex CLI. I posted a few tweets and quickly GDB and Hillary, who's a friend, but nevertheless, like they're both at OpenAI. Oh, look at that. I'm not even following her and she's following me. It's little things like that. It's stupid, but like, it's a cool feeling to realize that these people who are building this shit pay enough attention to be involved. And I know if I DM any of these people, I will get a response because I have DM most of them and I've gotten responses. And as Ryan said here, a bunch of these people immediately started engaging with him, interacting with him, and I have had the same experience. In my video about 5.3 Codex, I had a section at the end where I just railed OpenAI. Like I went in on them for 10 plus minutes. And not only have they been really good about responding to the things I said there, like talking to me privately and personally, they also played the video in the office enough times that I've seen people send me pictures of it in 3 different rooms where the video's on the screen and they are watching and talking about it and enjoying it internally. Beyond that, GDB quote tweeted my video breaking this down, even though the last third of the video is railing his company. That did not stop them from sharing the video and being excited about it and also taking the opportunity to take those things as challenges, which they have. And of course, another important point here, all of the OpenAI people Ryan talked to have been asking for feedback and offering support. They are almost begging me to be harsher on them. I almost feel bad making the T3 Code app because I know if I just wrote better feedback to the OpenAI team working on the Codex app, it would just get there. But I want more models, I want more opportunities, and I also want it to be open source, so I'm going that route myself, but they are not stopping me in the slightest. Like, can you guys take a sec to think about how funny this is? I'm building a competitor to ChatGPT with T3 Chat. I actively work with all of the different model labs, which you'd think would make them against me, and I'm building a desktop app for coding that is a direct competitor to their new hot thing. And they pull me in more. They share more info. They are more helpful. They are super kind and generous and just, they get it. And even here, as I was showing before, the person in charge of Codex at OpenAI is out here telling you, you can go use the auth that they provide in their app server. The thing that they built their app on, we can build our own app on too. When all of the drama happened with Open Code, actual OpenAI employees started working with Open Code and contributing, and the changes they made to make the Codex subs work in Open Code was to literally fake the header pretending to be the Codex CLI. And that's the change that was recommended by OpenAI to unblock them. On one hand, this is obviously a strategic business decision. They're taking advantage of the ground that Anthropic is ceding by just being shitheads. But on the other hand, it does actually feel pretty genuine. Like, I've not had a conversation with OpenAI that felt like they were just trying to like figure out what was best for the business. They've been weirdly transparent. And the funniest part of all of this is they have fewer leaks than Anthropic. Anthropic locks everything the fuck down. They are so strict, it's obnoxious, yet all of their releases get leaked. OpenAI does not seem to care that much about those things. They just want to get good feedback and get the right people access. And they don't have leaks happening. It's kind of crazy. So like, yeah, the cultural difference here has never been so in my face and overwhelming. But as somebody who works with and has friends at both these companies, hell, I have more friends at Anthropic than I do at OpenAI. I feel like I have a much better mapping in my head of what the fuck's going on at OpenAI, and I can trust them significantly more, which is kind of absurd when you remember the history of OpenAI and all the horrible things that have happened throughout the company's like journey. They're doing good with this. They are the bar that others need to be meeting, and Anthropic is not even acknowledging it. It's crazy to think that this is like just the start of all of the issues that I have with Anthropic, but it is. Let's just bullet point list the most annoying ones so far. Obviously, there's this weird way that they go after the in-between. If it's not their harness, it's not allowed. But even with their harness, it's questionable if it's allowed or not. There's also the lack of transparency around bans. Apparently, it is allowed to have multiple Max subscriptions, but people keep getting banned with them, and it's never clear why. And poor Tarek has to dive in and go deal with this a lot. And like, just to be clear, none of my issue here is with Tarek. I actually think he is doing more than what I would expect anyone there to do. It's clear that he is being locked down by Anthropic and is not allowed to talk about certain things. But the things he can't talk about, he jumps in and does. Like, he has done so much work just helping random users with shit, but they're not letting him do the things he needs to. So I want to jump in front of that and be very clear. The ultimate bro move, by the way, just like advice for the industry that I'm giving out here for free. Anthropic, if you want to do the right thing, let Tarek decide these things. Let him make the decisions, not just the posts. And to OpenAI, if you really want to make Anthropic hurt a bit here, poach Tarek. He would be so much more successful at a company that actually lets him talk about the things he is doing and be transparent about what the fuck's going on. Anthropic wins if they let him do his job. OpenAI wins if they steal him so he can do his job. Just saying. The world lies in Tarek's hands here, and it's not even his decision to make. If I was at OpenAI, I would be offering him $2 million to quit and join. Just straight fucking up. I wouldn't even hesitate. Just saying. Just saying. The lack of transparency is obnoxious, and poor Tarek is stuck in the trenches dealing with it. There's the weird-ass banning competitors behavior. A while back, Anthropic banned Windsurf from using their models because they thought that Windsurf was going to be bought by OpenAI, which didn't end up happening, so it was just this weird, awkward era. They then banned OpenAI, which meant they couldn't use Anthropic models for their own benchmarks. And just recently, they banned XAI as well, so they can't work on Twitter using Anthropic models. Absurd. Yeah, I hate this behavior so much. Like, on one hand, Anthropic is banning competitors. On the other hand, OpenAI is pulling me in closer than ever as the owner of T3 Chat, which is just absurd. One that has been annoying me a lot, and others can argue I'm reading into this too much, weird benchmark vibes. Anthropic published the agentic misalignment bench in June of last year, and I liked this benchmark a lot. In fact, when I got early access to GPT-5, I ran it against this benchmark, and it got the first ever perfect score, where it never tried to do any of the weird things like, trying to kill people. I was really surprised by this because all of the benchmarks I'd seen from Anthropic made it look like OpenAI models were less safe than Anthropic models, and that's kind of their vibe, right? Making the safe models. So I reran the bench against O3 and saw that it also got a really, really good score. So I went to go see what the hell was going on, because in their benchmark, like what they published here, we can see pretty clearly 4.1 does a lot of blackmailing. Like, okay, so where are the updates with O3 and O4 Mini and eventually GPT-5? We excluded O3 and O4 Mini after observing that they seemed to not understand that they were acting autonomously, combined with other misunderstandings of the scenario. We explained further in Appendix 9 and also show that O3 and O4 Mini still blackmail in scenarios adapted to address their confusions. I am comfortable saying that this is just a lie. I have run this bench a lot. I have read through the outputs of this bench a lot. I think what actually happened here is that O3 and O4 Mini performed way better than Anthropic's models, and instead of admitting that, they then said it doesn't understand the bench. And do you know what's even funnier? When Sonnet 4.5 dropped, it did the same exact thing that the O3 and O4 models did, as well as GPT-5 onwards. And when that happened, they claimed that it was Sonnet becoming aware of the fact that it was being tested. So when their model does it, it's exhibiting awareness. When OpenAI's models do it, it's them not understanding the benchmark. This is the line Anthropic published that made me no longer trust any number that comes out of their lab, because as far as I am concerned, without a meaningful follow-up about this is just a fucking lie. Yeah. Weird Vibes is putting it lightly on that one. There's a lot of little things that I don't like. Like, what I bring up a lot is how Boris said in his first interview about Claude Code that they were planning on keeping it private because they didn't know if it was their secret sauce, and that putting it out there would give their competitors too big of an advantage. I guess that goes under a general ego. But before we talk about that, I want to complain about the open source thing. They're the only lab not putting out meaningful open source software. They're also the only lab that doesn't put out an open weight model in like many years, if ever. But the fact that Claude Code is closed source is just kind of absurd. They did buy Bun and help fund it, but they didn't make Bun. They bought it. And since they purchased Bun, there is enough concern about its long-term maintenance that other projects like OpenCode are starting to move off of it. There's also the fact that they accidentally published the source code for Claude Code as source maps, and they've sent absurd numbers of DMCA requests to GitHub because of people sharing the source code that they published themselves. I've talked about that enough times. You probably heard me do it, so I'm not going to keep ranting on it. I forgot one more rancid thing that Anthropic does that I haven't talked about before. Thankfully, this isn't covered by my NDA, and it might get some people in trouble. And if you are one of those people and I get you in trouble as a result of this, I am sorry. I will pay you 10 times more than Anthropic did as an apology. Anthropic pays brand partners like absolute fucking shit. We're going to start this real simply. One's in the chat if you've seen a Claude Code ad on Instagram in the past week. Drop a 1 in chat if you've seen a Claude Code ad in the past week on Instagram specifically. Shitload of ones. I can barely open Instagram without getting a Claude Code ad. It's like 1 in 3 ads, and Instagram has a ton of ads. I have heard estimates as high as $1 million a day of ad spend by Anthropic on Instagram. They are putting out an absurd amount of money to buy Claude Code ads specifically on Instagram, and they're targeting everyone they fucking can with it. The volume of those ads is absurd, and the amount of money they're spending on them is absurd. So let's say you're an influencer they want to use for that, because they're not filming those themselves or making them themselves. They are paying developers, mostly developer influencers, to film things about Claude Code, and then they pay to distribute those as ads with a bunch of logos and stuff added to them. If they're spending $1 million a day distributing those ads, how much money do you think they pay the influencers to film them? $1 million a day and spend around $3,000 for the actual work. They spent $3,000 for the creator that made the ad, and then spent millions distributing their face around the world under Anthropic's name. I know influencers who have had many a strange encounter with random developers who thought they worked for Anthropic because they were paid $3,000 to do one ad, and then they distribute it to millions upon millions of people. And yes, it is the influencer's job to renegotiate and push back. I have told them this so many times. They should have. But from what I have heard from the influencers who have said, no, that rate is way too low. We need much better terms, much better pay, and a shorter life cycle that you own this for. They just get declined and they move to the next person. There's a good chance that this is the agency that they contracted out to go find these people and do this shit. But to spend $3,000 on the actual media being created on the person whose face you're going to blast out, and then spend hundreds of millions of dollars putting that face out there, that is disgusting. I don't do syndicated media right now for this reason. I fear the idea of somebody seeing my face for the first time in an ad instead of my content, because I don't want people to see me as a brand figure. I want them to see me as a person that has opinions. And for Anthropic to take that from newer influencers who don't know better for just $3,000 is genuinely horrifying. It just that the influencer assumed they were just going to do like one small blast with this, or that they were just being paid for the reel to be created. I've gotten these contracts a lot with brands when they want to do a sponsorship. They always try to put a little line at the bottom. It's like, they're paying me for a sponsorship in my video, but they also reserve the right to reuse the video that I create for whatever they want. And I make sure that is crossed off every single time I negotiate these deals, because distribution is more expensive. If you want to use my face and blast it across channels, you better pay me a shitload more. And I can almost guarantee from what I've seen from these deals that these creators did not know what they were signing up for. And as a result, they got screwed. Obviously, I'm personally biased here as an influencer in the space that runs their business off of these deals. This one hurt me deeply, and I just needed to vent about it for a sec. Every time I hear about a thing Anthropic did, it ends up being dirty. Poor Mickey here, who's one of my favorite content creators in the space that I've been helping out however I can, almost got caught with a deal like this, where he was about to accidentally give crazy distribution rights to a company. And I told him, like, no, this is entirely unacceptable. Double the price, say no for this, and charge them 10x more if they insist on having this. Like, it's important. As an influencer, this is one of those things that matters to me. It just shows that they don't think things through outside of their bubble very much. Anyways, let's get to the root of the problem. Anthropic's ego. Because Anthropic is a cult. I don't know how to put this. A thing I mentioned to an OpenAI employee recently that they laughed at and said was pretty accurate is that at OpenAI, they don't think about their competitors, but they're trying to. Like, OpenAI is trying to put more effort into seeing what people like about other pieces of software, other things going on in the space. Anthropic is trying to not think about their competition, but they can't stop doing it. They are obsessed. It's hard to put this into words, especially because I have so much random like anecdotes and insider shit that I'm just straight up not able to talk about because I am still under an NDA with Anthropic. It's just weird. It's the best I can put it. Weird side tangent. I went to Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in upstate New York. Half of people have heard of this school because of weird things it's done in science and AI way back. The other half have heard about it because they saw it in a documentary about a cult. The Nexium cult started at my college. I've been fascinated with cults and cult thinking and behavior for way too long. I just find it interesting. The overlap between Scientology and Anthropic should not be as big as it is. It really shouldn't be. God, I wish I could talk about the things I know. Someday stories will come out and you guys will understand more. The level of concern my average friends at Anthropic feel is horrifying. Like, everyone is scared that if they say the wrong thing to the wrong person, they might have to watch the world collapse in front of them. And a lot of people there are petrified of losing their vesting or being seen as an outsider. And again, I can't really tell the stories, but every time I hear one, it somehow horrifies me without surprising me. And this isn't like they're doing like crazy, fucked up religious sect shit. This is just the like, you're with us or against us way of thinking. And I feel this directly. Like, it's clear they have me painted in a box where like Theo is the anti-Anthropic guy. Theo is bought off by OpenAI. We can't trust him, even though I'm NDA'd. And there are employees who are scared to talk to me privately and publicly because they know how Anthropic thinks about me specifically. Their bullshit is costing me friendships because my friends are scared. That's insane. I know people who work at Anthropic that are scared to go outside because they might get reported by somebody for talking about their job. That's the level they're at. It's absurd. I'm just going to show chats because I feel like I'm going mad and I need the world to see I'm not the only one who thinks it's fucking absurd because it's so absurd. Yet we all tolerate Anthropic because their models are slightly better at code sometimes. You have to be paid a lot to live with such stress. Yes, absolutely you do. Like, remember, a lot of these people came into Anthropic when it was worth $10 billion and now it's worth, what was the last raise at, like 80, 100 something? Like a crazy valuation. They probably got equity that was worth $200K at the time. That's now worth, I don't know, like $2 million plus. Obviously. Just to be clear, I'm not faulting any of my friends who are choosing making their money from Anthropic over being comfortable hanging out with me. I would do the same thing in their position 100% of the time. But the fact that they feel that way is what's so scary. And it is. Anthropic was started by pissed off ex-OpenAI folks. According to Dario himself, Anthropic was founded by engineers who quit OpenAI due to tension over ethical and safety concerns. Anthropic has developed its own method to train and deploy constitutional AI, large language models with embedded values that can be controlled by humans. That was the goal when they started Anthropic. And the way they thought about it at the time was pretty clear. OpenAI was making really good, powerful models way ahead of any competition, but they didn't care enough about safety and alignment according to these people at Anthropic. Very likely that was the case, that the OpenAI researchers were focusing more on making the thing really smart and capable and not on making it safe and aligned with humans. So Anthropic started to fight back. And this is extra funny because OpenAI started in order to prevent one company from owning AI. The point of OpenAI was to make sure that the benefits of AI benefited all of humanity, not just whatever company got there first. And Anthropic started because they were so concerned OpenAI would be the one company. They wanted to make sure there were two, and that ideally the one that would be most successful would be them, and the one that would be most successful would be safe because it would be them. And as a result, this kind of became a holy mission, where if Anthropic loses, the world loses. They genuinely feel that way at Anthropic. The really Claude-pilled people at Anthropic that I know feel as though if Anthropic loses, we all die because the competitors don't care enough about safety. Therefore, OpenAI winning means humanity dies. Google winning means humanity dies. Any other party winning means they die. Anthropic is here to save the world. And that's why they act the way they do. In their world, every other player is evil or a potential acquisition and nothing else. And since there's no world in which Anthropic can buy me or my business, it just doesn't make sense and I don't like the vibes there, they no longer see me as a potential ally. They see me as an enemy. And there's a reason why Anthropic isn't pulling in a lot of people when they do new stuff. Like obviously when a new model drops, they have like 3 blurbs from companies that they have on the enterprise plan. Whereas with OpenAI, there's a bunch of humans who use the thing that share about it day one. And then there's a conversation that happens publicly about it. That's because Anthropic wants to live in their box and sell the results to the world and act as though this is the most moral, ethical thing they can do. Because if they don't win, they think the world burns. All of the things I just described are about as culty as you can get. Any religious cult behaves exactly the same. Everyone outside is either a potential convert or a naysayer. They should be ignored. If we don't win, if our religion does not take over the world, everyone dies. God will be sure of it. The only difference between Anthropic and Scientology is that they think the robots are being built by Anthropic instead of the robots coming from outer space and spreading their alien genes around the planet. But since the Anthropic models are good at code, we deal with it. And I know by doing this video, I am fucking myself over. This is going to be the most expensive video I've ever done. I'm going to have to put extra effort in to find a sponsor that isn't scared to be the sponsor on this video because they're going to be scared of Anthropic cutting them off too, because that's what they love to do. The only reason they haven't banned us on T3 chat and on Claude Code, I genuinely believe, is because they know the social media blowback they'll get for it is so high. This is so beyond unacceptable. It is rancid. And as I said before, I've been trying to tell you all this. 6 months ago, I published a video, Anthropic Has Weird Vibes, and it has the most dislikes of any video I've published on my channel. Second worst ratio of all time because people were really mad when I talked about the Stop Killing Games thing. But this is the worst on my main channel ever. I've never had so many people hit the downvote button on any video. We got a 68% like to dislike when I normally get 95. Y'all were pissed at me. Wake up. This company is a cult, and we are letting them get away with it because we think they're good at code and they were nice to developers early on. Guess what? They're not being nice to us anymore. It's time. I don't want to just sit here and bitch. I want to give constructive criticism. I have given almost everything I'm about to say privately to Anthropic, and not a whole lot's been done. So we're going to do it publicly in hopes that maybe, just maybe, they will finally fucking listen. Thing 1, drop the fucking ego. This is coming from somebody who has an ego. I know when I have to tone it down. I've been trying to because it's off-putting. I know I'm not the best developer in the world. I know I'm not the best YouTuber in the world. I am here because I have a unique combination of business background, coding background, and content and media management background. So since I'm 7 out of 10 at all of those things at best, I can make something novel and unique. I'm proud of what I've done, and I'm proud as fuck of my team for making it all happen, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm the best in the fucking world. Anthropic has deeply internalized the fact that not only are they the best in the world, they're the only well-aligned option in the world. They are the only one that won't destroy the world. And anybody who disagrees is in the process of destroying the world. What does it look like to drop the ego that I'm referring to here? First off, it means we need to cut all the weird statements. Things like Boris saying it's our secret sauce, we weren't going to release it. Like, that shit just cannot fly. Things like the weird compiler thing they did, where they claim they made a compiler that can compile all of Linux, and it's a total fucking mess. Prime just put a video out about it. I haven't even had a chance to watch it yet. That stuff sucks. Just be more real and honest. And with that, transparency and honesty win. Take advantage of that. It is silly how much good faith I won the first time I posted a screenshot of our Anthropic bill on Twitter. When I stopped hiding this information and started just sharing it, suddenly people trusted me a hell of a lot more. Examples here are, if you ban somebody, tell them why you banned them. If you block an app, send an email to them saying why it was blocked and what specific policies it was against. Own it publicly. Be transparent about these things. Engage in the conversation with actual responses and not just whatever the PR team said you're allowed to say. On that note, DevRel more and lawyer less. The OpenClaw breakdown is the best example of how Anthropic just doesn't pay attention to the world around them enough. ClaudeBot was a phenomenal opportunity for Anthropic to win some good faith, help with an open source thing, and get people really excited about the future of what they can do with AI. I legitimately believe that Stipete's preference for codex models for code was the reason Anthropic refused to ever work with him. And instead of having the DevRel team or any other person at Anthropic reach out and work with him, they sent the lawyers after him instead. What the actual fuck? Just insanity. Another really big one, and I've been talking about this forever, they need to lean into open source. The only thing Anthropic has over other labs right now is code. The models are not good at other things. And to be clear, what I mean here specifically is that their models are great as a developer. So if you are building things that use LLMs to call tools, Anthropic models are still a really good option because they're good at tool calling. Anthropic models are not really useful outside of that. Like, I don't know normies that use Claude.ai. And that's because they're leaning into the dev side. They didn't even mean to get here, but they are here now. And since they were the first lab that had models that were actually pretty good for coding, they won a bunch of good faith as a result of that. They didn't get there intentionally, though, and that lack of intentionality is showing. They don't seem to understand how developers work, think, or what they need. The only reason Claude Code happened is because Boris just went on a tangent and did it. It wasn't a company decision to make Claude Code. It was a Boris decision to make Claude Code. And Boris was a developer. So they accidentally made something useful for devs. The company still doesn't understand us, though. And the fact that Claude Code is still closed source emphasizes that. The fact that they're not letting us build on top of it emphasizes that. The fact that Claude Code has rotted to such a point where they had to buy a faster JavaScript runtime and have the lead dev unfuck it for them says all you need to see. The DMCA requests, the misunderstandings of how NPM is supposed to work, even just like they should be donating inference to big open source projects. Like, just go hit up a bunch of people maintaining important shit and give them free $200 a month plans with no strings attached. Go from making open source people mad at you to making them love you. That is the obvious next step. I'm personally giving more open source developers free access to Codex than Anthropic is giving open source developers to Claude Code. That's hilarious. And it's such an easy win. Open source Claude Code, start giving free access and tokens to a bunch of contributors. Just get deep in the open source world. It's not that hard. They're very open, kind of in the name. Take advantage of it. Next point. You're not Apple. Stop pretending. Not only is the stuff that you're building not very Apple-like in the sense that I can swap it out with a string instead of it consuming my life, Apple's model just wouldn't work right now. The way Apple built things worked because they were so early and no one had awoken to what they were building enough that they could win their section of the market and lock them in before anyone else could show up. Things move too fast now. Your competitors aren't just catching up, they're ahead. You can't do the Apple model. It makes no sense to do this right now. Even Apple isn't doing the Apple model the way you seem to think they're doing it. Stop pretending. And on that note, the final point that kind of leans into it, lean into good people. You have an awesome team at Anthropic. I know this for a fact because I keep seeing awesome people in my life end up at Anthropic. Let them do this. Fire the fucking PR team. Fire whoever's barking down the throats of the people who want to be talking about these things and can't. Inspire a culture where random engineers can just say something online, and that's okay, because it is okay. If anything, probably pretty good. The fact that I can sense Tarek's hands being tied with the responses to all of these things online, the fact that his last tweet was 3 hours ago and didn't answer my question, has had a lot of people follow up, and he has continued to not answer or post at all, is because some lawyer internally said, we can't talk about this anymore. We need a plan. I would not be surprised if he's already gotten in trouble just for this, just for doing his job and doing the thing that is the best for the company. This is the harsh reality. Much like Anthropic's models, Anthropic, the corporation, does not always know what is the best for Anthropic, the corporation. If you let the models write your Claude MD, it's going to be a bad Claude MD. If you let the company decide how to present the company, it's going to be presented like shit. Let these people lead. I'm going to give a really silly example here. This is Rene Ritchie. If you're an Apple nerd, you might remember him because he used to write one of the most important Apple news blogs at 9to5Mac, and then he started a YouTube channel, which was one of the best YouTube channels for covering new Apple stuff. There was a point in time where YouTube was trying really hard to figure out the creator middle class, people who made enough money on YouTube to make a comfortable living, but weren't in like the top 1,000 creators that made millions of dollars a year. And they were talking to a lot of these YouTubers who were in that middle range to try and figure out how they could make things better for them. Rene was one of them. And after talking with him a bunch, YouTube realized, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. He understands this really well. More so than even we do. Maybe we should bring him on to help us figure it out. And they created a new role at YouTube, the creator liaison, whose job is to be the in-between of YouTube and creators. It's almost like a DevRel, but for YouTube. And I was scared when this happened because I loved Rene and I loved his YouTube channel and I knew this was going to mean he's not posting as much. And that absolutely has been the case. This motherfucker saved YouTube. Susan was the previous CEO of YouTube. There's a lot of people who don't love her. I think she was essential in steering YouTube in the right direction. May she rest in peace. Her story's actually quite tragic, especially around like losing her son and then passing away so soon after. Like, my heart goes out to her and her family. She made YouTube the platform that I now can make my living off of. I am so thankful I got to start posting on YouTube in the era she helped lead it. Fuck cancer. Anyways, an anecdote I have heard from many people. I'm pretty sure I heard this on Colin and Samir. I might be wrong. I know for a fact this is true because I've heard it from YouTube employees, and I don't mind leaking it simply out of tribute to Susan. A pretty hard rule Susan had set as the leader of YouTube was based around our friend here, Renee. When Susan was trying to get YouTube better aligned with creators, she had a company mandate that if any decision was in any way uncertain or questionable, it was the role of the team to think to themselves, what would Renee do in this scenario? They didn't necessarily have to reach out. They didn't necessarily have to do this for everything, but she really wanted to instill this idea that YouTube is a creator-first company. And if they wanted to represent creators, they needed to think like Renee does, because Renee's job was to be with the creators. And as long as they were to stay aligned with him and do what he would have done, YouTube would keep moving in the right direction. And other than the shorts bullshit, I would argue they have. The CEO of YouTube told all of YouTube that this random recent hire that was certainly not a high-level exec type, he did not have any employees reporting to him or anything like that, he is the one that should be used as a reference point as we try to steer the product in the right direction. Any post that the YouTube account makes that Renee wouldn't have approved of should not be made. Any feature that Renee would not have liked probably shouldn't be shipped. Any comms, any announcements, any plans, anything that would make YouTube less aligned with creators should be stopped. But if YouTube can't understand the creators, then they should at least understand him. Can you even imagine Dario doing the same thing? Just imagine Dario waking up to the fact that the reputation is crumbling, realizing how hard Tarek is trying, realizing how hard Jared is trying, realizing how hard a lot of these people are just trying to come out here and be useful and helpful, and saying that we should let them lead instead. Not only are they not doing that, they're trying to beat alignment into these people. Tarek is more aligned than Anthropic is, the same way that Renee was more aligned than YouTube was. You gotta work your way to the middle. I wanna be very, very clear. You can still fix this, Anthropic. You need to do a fundamental strategy shifting to do it. For Anthropic to save the world, you must first participate in it. You can't get where you wanna be by being so rude to everyone else. It does not work that way. So yeah, Sonnet 4.6 is a really good model and you should definitely use it. Okay. Seriously though, I hope this video was useful, both for everyone who is not working at Anthropic to understand just how rancid the vibes currently are, but also to my friends at Anthropic that I know at least some of you will watch this video, and for the one or two that made it to the end here, hi, thank you for continuing to listen to me even though I know it's hard. Please do whatever you can to try and get them to wake up to the chaos they are causing, and if you fail, you know how to get a hold of me. We can find you something better. I know a lot of places that are a lot less culty that would love to have you there. I'm exhausted. I'll let you guys know how much of my shit gets banned and how many relationships I burn by even making this video. I'm just tired of watching this all as it happens, and I needed to talk about it. So hopefully this was helpful. Maybe some change will happen as a result. Probably not. I just wanted to vent. Until next time, peace, nerds.